There are so many social media groups out there for aviation. It gets really confusing to know which one to turn to when you need help. We're going to talk about that today in the hangar. Welcome to In the Hangar. I'm Christy Wong. Today's episode is brought to you by our awesome sponsors, Colton Mortgage and Flying Eyes Optics. Today we're talking about a fairly interesting topic because it's one that we all think about and see if we're on social media, but I don't think it's widely talked about. So with us today is Matt Wells. Matt.
Hello again.
All right. You are an admin on a social media page.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Cool.
We've also got Ashley Blythe. You are also an admin of a local area social media site, which we're going to talk about, and John Noggle. Okay. I want to come back to you, Ashley, because your social media site is probably one of the most well-known here in the North Texas area. So talk to me about that.
Well, I was working on getting my private pilot license in 2016. And I was sitting around having an adult beverage with some of my other pilot friends, Ethan Garrity and John Culp. And I said, hey, is there a group on Facebook for us? And he was like, nope. Okay. Well,
us meaning what? Like
pilots in the DFW area.
Gotcha, okay.
And there wasn't. So I went home and went, I guess I'll start one.
So you just came up with North Texas Aviators, boom.
Yep, that was it.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
And what happened when you created that page?
Well, the good thing about Ethan Garrity is, you guys have had him on the show before, is he's very experienced in social media, and he's been an admin on social media groups before. And I said, hey, what do we want to do here? Let's just create a platform where people can network, make friends, find a mechanic, find an airplane, find an instructor, and create a platform where people can connect. And we just let it ride. Started inviting friends, started bringing it out word of mouth. And it just grew and grew and grew and multiplied. So, the whole idea was just bring people together that are in the regional area, because we have great things like fly-in events. We have great things like pancake breakfasts, and we get together. It's funny. We all go to Oshkosh, and then we all gather together at Oshkosh. Like, hey, we just flew 475 miles to hang out with, or 750 miles to hang out with each other.
Yeah.
So, people who are pilots need a resource, I think, to be able to network and hang out with other friends.
Yeah, I actually found North Texas Aviators early on. I don't want to say in its infancy, but definitely early on. I was early 2017 when I was a student pilot looking. I mean, that's how you and I met each other. Yeah. And it was a much smaller group then.
It was.
And now, because I see that NTA has surpassed 10,000
people. Yeah, we're about
people.
10,300-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges to that in a minute. But John, talk to me about airplanes and coffee.
Yes. So very similar to Ashley, back in August of 2020, I was pursuing my pilot's license. And I was watching the news, and I saw another organization called Cars and Coffee. And I thought to myself, well, it'd be really cool if there was an airplanes and coffee. So I went online and I looked, and I saw there wasn't one. So I started the group page, and
just like that.
That was it, August 2020.
Did you bring me airplanes or coffee today?
Today, unfortunately, no. I just brought my Honda Civic.
I was led to believe there would be airplanes and coffee today.
I wish.
That's okay.
But
okay.
So we started the group with the intention of meeting up once a month and having, similar to Cars and Coffee, a little get together. And slowly but surely, it's evolved into something amazing. And now we have usually over 100 aircraft show up that are flying. So
excellent. All right, Matt, talk to me about the page that you run.
So the page that I run is called Ask a Pilot / Air Traffic Controller. And the reason I started that, it started on Christmas of 2017, is I think I was on NTA first, or maybe Houston area aviators. It was another page. It was a very small page. And I saw a lot of, hey, is there any controllers on here? I have a question. Hey, is there any of this on here? And a lot of it, of course, because we're pilots responding to that. Now, pilots are knowledgeable, and some of those things they can go find the information for, but there's also stuff that's behind the scenes that they can't necessarily find, like letters of agreement and facility-specific items. So I'm like, I just thought about it, I'm like, it'd be great to have a group specifically with the intent of pilots asking controllers questions, and it's not just for that, it's vice versa. And so I started a group. Within the first, I think, week, there was at least 400 or 500 people in there. It just continued to grow, and there's, you get some random people in there that are just there for the fun, and they don't really have a legitimate question, but then they get kicked out if they go crazy. But the point is that a pilot can go on there and ask a controller, or look for, like, okay, say, any controllers from Meacham in here? I have a specific question about the airport, and I could personally speak to that. But that was the main reason that I did that whole thing, is because a lot of the other groups, people were asking questions, and the pilot's like, you should just do this, you should just do that. And then you'd find, that they would do it, and then they'd come back and be like, oh, I tried that, and it didn't really work out really well for me. Like pop-up IFRs in certain scenarios, or asking for flight following, which we like to tell everyone, get flight following, which I preach that a lot. But that was the main reason I went and started mine. We're up to, I think, 12,600. And we don't just let everybody in the group. It's got to be a pilot, a controller, past or present, and
you're in a unique position because you're both
yes,
a pilot and a controller.
Right, because and yeah, part of that was like I said, it goes both ways. It doesn't have to just be pilots to controllers, because I got that a lot. I got people going, why is it just that one way? Why do we have to look up to you in that kind of like power mentality? I'm like, no. It goes both ways. I go on there and ask all kinds of stuff. I'm just starting to enter the world of flying jets. So I have lots of questions, and some of those I can go to you for. I can go to friends who have flown the jets, but maybe a broader perspective. Hey, anyone's flown jets up in the Northwest? I have a question about this. And I'm a controller. I could ask how they do it up there compared to how I do it down here, and I can bring that idea and maybe go somewhere with it.
So for you guys, do you let just anybody on the page, or do they have to be a pilot? Ashley, is anybody welcome on North Texas Aviators, or do you have to be in North Texas?
Well, we have some questions. If somebody says, hey, I want to join the group, we have the moderator team has written some really great questions that hopefully fish out people that are bots or trolls, or somebody that's, if they're outside of the United States, or if they're not visiting the DFW area very often, we don't let folks like that in, because a lot of the information we talk about is specific to the area. We might ask a question like, okay, what's a squawk code for lost comms? And unless you're a pilot, or you Google it, you're not gonna know. So it's a low effort question, and we just try to filter out folks. We want people to feel welcome and invited, but we want the conversations to kind of stay in the lane of aviation and the regional area.
Gotcha. What about for your page?
So with us, we allow anyone in that answers our questions. We've got questions as well. Our group has 22,000 people in it, so we've got people from all over the world that have joined Airplanes and Coffee, and as long as they're keeping it, associated with Airplanes and Coffee, we're cool with them being in the group. We're not really concerned about where they're at, but if they post something that has nothing to do with Airplanes and Coffee, or something that may cause an argument or something negative, we get rid of them pretty quick, because we don't have the resources to manage all of that.
I want to talk about that.
Oh boy.
So
here we go.
So obviously, as with any social media group, especially these days, there's a lot of heartache in managing it, because I've adminned pages as well. And unfortunately, people are going to people, and they're going to start stuff. What are some of the more common things that you guys see that causes you to go, you know what? Nope, you're out.
Let me take this one, because I think this is where the beauty of having friends that have done this before worked out really well for us. So Ethan had some experience with this, and I sat down with Ethan as we're having our adult beverage and said, what kind of guardrails do we want to set up? Two things came to mind really quickly. One, we want to stay out of politics, political discussions. Here's a little bit of the story behind that. Aviation is one of these common denominators that finds itself painting across all different kinds of political spectrums. And we want people in this group to be able to share what they have in common and not fight about what they don't. So we set up some guardrails, no political talk or anything like that. The second thing is no misogyny. We didn't want women in the group, because women pilots don't make up 50% of the pilot community. It's more like 5 or 7%. You may know what that statistic is.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
So we wanted it to be inviting to young pilots, whether you're 16, 17, 18, or 80. So keep it clean, keep it family friendly, and we've tried to stay within those guardrails. And unfortunately, some people don't really understand that, or, hey, it's my First Amendment right, I can say what I want. Yes, you can, over on your page. Thank you very much. We want it to, aviation needs to grow in order to survive. If there aren't more private pilots and more people getting their certificates, there's a good chance that we don't get to retain these privileges 20, 30, 40 years from now when other government agencies are fighting for their resources or fighting for different environmental impact things, like we see right now in California. So we want to protect and we want to grow aviation in a way that's safe and fun and keep it clean.
Yeah. What about you? Do you typically see people getting into it?
Yes, and as long as they keep it clean, I generally try to stay very minimal moderation. I think I was in NTA before I created mine, so I took a lot of my rules from his book and I put those along, and I'm like, yeah, I'll allow the politics only if it doesn't turn messy and if it's relevant to pilots and controllers. So there's some things that kind of go in there. When the government shut down a couple years ago, that was kind of politically created, and I'm like, you keep it real, keep it clean, and I don't mind. When it goes off the guardrails, and I'll go in there and I'll go, nope, I'm not playing that game. But yeah, same things. Keep it clean, keep it real. It's meant to, improve the relationship between pilots and controllers and, exchange knowledge, if you will. I've met so many pilots. Some of them are foreign students, some of them are just local, and they hear that, oh, you're a controller, and they're like, and I'm just like, no, just a person. You can just ask me a question if you have it. We can exchange information, and it's not that big a deal. So it's the platform, so where you can go on there. And like I said, I try to stay out of stuff. There have been arguments that go pretty far, but they make good points. So I leave it alone.
You're like a hockey ref. You're like,
well,
I'm gonna let them go at it. We'll see. Okay, that's enough. Split it.
Some of those go really long and they get really good, and they make me think about stuff that I'm like, I would have never thought of that. And then, like I said, as long as it stays clean and there's no lines crossed, I just leave it there.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I try to be very minimally involved in that, along with my brother who helps me co-admin the group. And I get a lot out of it, personally. I read the stuff that goes on in there, and I'm like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the same question gets asked, but you get newer people in the group, and I'm a new pilot. What do I do with flight following? And it's at first that was a really common question, and people would get harassed, and I'd be like, none of that. Just answer his question. Mm-hmm. New guy to aviation doesn't need to be harassed. He's looking for information. It's real simple. So yeah.
So are you guys willing to share any stories of maybe some nightmare situations that you've had in running your pages?
I've got a good one.
Perfect.
I don't know what happened, but I woke up one day and we were just flooded with all of these non-aviation folk, I'll leave it at that, basically trying to find love on our page. So
Like a dating site. I
remember that? I mean, it was like a 48-hour period where
Airplanes
we got
and coffee and
beats dating. I don't
Single
know.
women from Thailand who love me.
I mean, I don't know what happened. So at that point, it was only
we held out
me.
your number for that time.
There we go. At that point, it was only me and 2 other people moderating the page. And that day, we jumped from 3 to 10 because I was like, this has to get under control. They're going to ruin this group. And luckily, we've really got it handled. But wow, I mean, it was like 48 hours there.
It was funny.
Every single pilot was getting hit on by random strangers and asked for phone numbers and getting asked to get married. And It was like, this is not the point of the page, y'all.
Airplanes and coffee and marriage proposals.
guess so.
I like
That's
it.
right. That's right.
All right,
Oh,
Ashley,
right.
what about you?
Oh, the good news about me is I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to that stuff. I put it out of my mind. There have been quite a few, pilots are type A personalities. We all are. And we've had our disagreements about, as a community, we've had our disagreements about mechanics or about how to fly this or what's the
wing,
best
low
airplane,
wing.
high wing, low wing. Should I be using Aeroshell? Should I be using whatever brand of oil? When probably one of the most noteworthy things was when the pilot who was in command of the Southwest Airlines 737 that lost an engine and lost a passenger.
Tammy Jo Schultz.
Tammy Jo. She was on the Grip and Grin speaking tour, and there were some pilots in there in the group that sharing some locker room talk. Hey, she wouldn't be. There's been other pilots that went through that. Why is she getting to basically be famous? We never get to choose who really is famous or the timing of things like that. Just embrace it. She's doing good things for aviation. Well, she was this in the military, and then we just had to shut it down. And the worst thing about it was I'm sitting here trying to tell a captain at a major airline, pipe it down, dude. Be nice. What did she do to you?
Yeah, that's messed up.
And then I'm told, well, you'll never have a job at my airline.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of those situations that just hit me like, this is maybe not, this one hurt a little bit. Because having to tell grown adults, let's keep this in between the guardrails of keeping it positive. A young lady aviator who's working on a pilot license doesn't need to hear about Tammy Jo's military, the critique of her military career, blah, blah, blah. None of that helps anybody. Yeah. Can we keep it positive? And so having to explain that sometimes is a drag. But that is totally superseded by the amount of beautiful, amazing, wonderful connections that have been made, the friendships that have been built, the things that we've done together as a community. To see things like Operation Airdrop,
The Pilots and Paws outreach, things like
Angel
that.
Flight.
all these Angel Flight, all these things blossom
Yeah.
out of what social media and the connections that people just naturally make there. So
Yeah,
the bad stories, I think get outweighed by the good stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
all
So
day.
that rolls into the next topic, which is tell me about some of the really amazing things that have come out of your groups.
Well, we're here in the hangar. It's not a hangar, but it's a studio. No joke. We were on NTA. That's where I met Dan. I think that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And look where we are now, season 6. So here's one of the great things that came out of his group, at least for me. My group, I've gotten to connect with all kinds of people that are local and pretty far away, and sharing some stuff that I didn't think I would ever share over messages. Figured I'd need to meet these people for that, but plenty of relationships and opportunities,
Yeah.
for that fact, out of his group, my group, and I just joined his not too long ago when he told me about it.
Yeah.
Get this episode set up, but
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any notables?
Well, one of the things that I'm the most proud of with Airplanes and Coffee is that at our fly-ins, we do free discovery flights. So we're almost up to 100 free discovery flights given to people that
That's amazing.
come to our fly-ins and they've never been up in a small aircraft. And we say, hey, let's go. And we just give them a nice little tour and they come down, and a lot of them have fallen in love with it. So for me, that's the biggest accomplishment we've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me personally, like your group was so instrumental in the networking.
It's our group. It's
Yeah.
not my group. I just
Yeah.
punch keys.
And I want to say thank you also to Ashley, because NTA is really what helped Airplanes and Coffee
Yes,
get to where it's at.
You're a
And
big influence, man.
Without NTA, we wouldn't be what we are.
Like none of us, I think, would really be here, at least within the same platform, if it weren't for that group, because it gave us an outlet. It gave us those resources that were so necessary. I will never forget my early student pilot days when I would get on there and I was like, I have questions about this, and
Remember that.
people would jump on and be so willing to help. Taking some of the negative aside, there were people that were really willing to jump in and answer questions and help, and And I remember an aviator, when I was asking about like landings and stuff like that, he was like, come fly with me. You know, just come fly with me and we'll just, you know, I'll show you what I do. And, you know, just stuff like that. The people, really. The people, the resources, the outlet.
Well, not to wax too poetically, but I think, first of all, it's our group as a community. We reach out to friends, those friends reach out to friends, and the common denominator draws us together. I just happen to be the guy that went boop first. You know,
Yeah.
It could have been him, it could have been anyone. But if I had to say one really important thing about that is the generosity of people in aviation has absolutely blown me away. People willing to take someone on a flight that costs hundreds of dollars an hour. You know, somebody willing to fly a patient, you know, like Troy flying a patient down to Houston for cancer treatment, or someone flying some dogs that were rescued out of a kill shelter in West Texas and flying 2 or 3 legs to get them up to a facility where they're not going to be euthanized. Using aviation to inspire kids in math and the other STEM subjects. Connections is what makes it work. And I think Facebook, and the beauty of Facebook and social media has been that it facilitates connections so much easier than it used to be, which would be if you had a question about aviation, you went up to the airport and you went into the FBO and you talked to whoever was there. And that was the extent of you being able to get a question answered. So, you know, thanks to Zuckerberg and the people who created this network and really the human beings inside of there that share a passion for it. So,
Yeah, I would implore everybody to utilize their powers for good. I mean, that's really what it's about.
well, the next thing about that is we want NTA as a group to be a model or to act as a model for other groups that in regions of the United States that maybe don't have this already. So if anybody is interested in starting a group and want to learn about the guardrails that we set up that help make it successful, people can reach out to me, send me a DM through Facebook or through Instagram, and we'll help guide them through that process, because there are beautiful places to go flying, beautiful areas of the country that aren't as well connected. DFW has a lot of people in it, and we're very fortunate to live in an aviation-rich area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, anybody could have pushed that button, but you did. And honestly, it's no joke. You pushed that button, you're pretty much one of the main reasons everyone's here right now,
Wow,
including me,
well, that's very humbling. Thank
Christy,
you.
and Dan. I think it connects. So lots
Yeah.
of things blossoming out of it.
Yeah, keep it going. Don't stop pushing that button.
You and Ethan and everybody who helped create it. It's not just you who's here, it's everybody.
Yeah. Well, we will put a link to everybody's group in the comments or in the description below, so that way if they do want to get a hold of each of you, they now have a direct resource to do that. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I would just like to take a minute to implore everybody to just spread the kindness, especially on social media. It's so easy to get opinionated and try to push your values on other people. And people get really angry and upset about that. I see it every day. But like I said before, use your powers for good. Please like, subscribe, share our content. We want to get out to more people just so that we can get more of this out to the masses. And we'll see you guys all next time in the hangar.